Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's update, we're going to take a careful and realistic look at a topic that frequently circulates among Iraqi Dinar followers and currency speculators: the idea of exchanging Iraqi Dinar at major international banks. Specifically, the question of whether it is possible to exchange Iraqi dinar at institutions like Chase Bank. This topic often generates a lot of curiosity, confusion, and sometimes misinformation, so in this analysis, we will break it down in a clear, factual, and responsible way. To begin with, it's important to understand how global currency exchange systems actually work. Major international banks, including large US financial institutions, typically deal only in currencies that are widely traded on global foreign exchange markets. These are known as freely convertible currencies such as the US dollar, euro, British pound, Japanese yen, and others. These currencies are actively traded, have high liquidity, and are supported by stable financial systems and open exchange mechanisms. The Iraqi dinar, however, operates differently. While it is the official currency of Iraq and is used domestically for all economic activity within the country, it is not fully convertible on international Forex markets in the same way as major global currencies. Iraq's financial system still maintains certain controls over currency movement, and the dinar is not widely traded outside the country through standard international banking channels. When people ask whether they can exchange Iraqi dinar at a bank like Chase, the realistic and factual answer is that, as of now, most major US banks do not offer Iraqi dinar exchange services. This includes both buying and selling the currency. The reason is not tied to speculation or hidden policy changes, but rather to practical financial considerations such as demand, liquidity, regulatory compliance, and risk management. Banks like Chase operate under strict financial regulations and must ensure that any currency they handle meets international compliance standards. This includes anti-money laundering regulations, transparency requirements, and the ability to easily access global currency markets for pricing and liquidity. Since the Iraqi dinar is not broadly traded in international Forex markets and has limited global demand, it does not meet the criteria that large banks typically require to offer exchange services. Another important factor to consider is the difference between official exchange rates and market accessibility. The Central Bank of Iraq sets an official exchange rate for the dinar, and this rate is used within Iraq's banking system and for government-related transactions. However, having an official exchange rate does not automatically mean that the currency is widely available or exchangeable internationally through major banks. In some cases, individuals may find smaller exchange dealers or private currency services that claim to buy or sell Iraqi dinar. However, these are not the same as large, regulated banking institutions, and they often operate with wider spreads, higher fees, and varying levels of reliability. This is why it is essential for anyone dealing with foreign currency to verify the credibility and regulatory status of any exchange provider. From a short-term perspective, the current situation suggests that there is no immediate indication that major international banks are preparing to offer Iraqi dinar exchange services. There have been no official announcements from large financial institutions confirming such changes, and there are no verified policy updates indicating that the dinar is about to become widely tradable on global Forex platforms. This is an important point because rumors about sudden changes in exchange availability often circulate online, sometimes creating unrealistic expectations. A shift of this magnitude, where a previously restricted currency becomes globally tradable, would involve significant structural changes in Iraq's financial system, including increased transparency, regulatory reforms, and deeper integration with international banking networks. Such developments would be publicly documented and widely reported by credible financial news sources. Looking at the broader economic context, Iraq has been working on financial reforms aimed at strengthening its banking sector, improving transparency, and modernizing its payment systems. These efforts include digital banking initiatives, anti-corruption measures, and attempts to align with international financial standards. While these reforms are positive and could support long-term economic growth, They do not automatically translate into immediate changes in the global status of the Iraqi dinar. In the long term, if Iraq continues to implement consistent economic reforms, stabilize its financial institutions, and build stronger ties with global markets, there is potential for gradual improvement in the dinar's international standing. This could eventually lead to increased accessibility and possibly broader exchange availability. However, this is a gradual process that typically unfolds over years, not days or weeks. It's also important to address a common misunderstanding related to currency revaluation. Some individuals believe that a sudden and dramatic increase in the value of the Iraqi dinar would automatically lead to widespread exchange availability at major banks. In reality, currency valuation and currency convertibility are separate issues. A currency can change in value without becoming globally tradable, and becoming fully convertible requires structural economic and regulatory changes beyond just adjusting the exchange rate. For Iraqi dinar followers, the key takeaway is to focus on verified economic indicators rather than speculation. These indicators include Iraq's GDP growth, oil revenue stability, foreign reserves, inflation rates, and progress in banking sector reforms. These factors provide a more accurate picture of the country's economic trajectory and the potential future of its currency. Another aspect worth mentioning is the role of international organizations. Institutions such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank often work with countries like Iraq to support financial reforms and economic stability. Progress in these areas can improve investor confidence and strengthen the overall financial system, but again, these are long-term developments rather than immediate triggers for global currency exchange changes. From a practical standpoint, anyone currently holding Iraqi dinar should be cautious about expectations related to exchanging it at major international banks. It is always advisable to rely on official bank statements and credible financial news sources rather than unverified claims circulating online. If a major bank were to begin offering Iraqi dinar exchange services, it would be clearly communicated through official channels and widely covered in mainstream financial media. In terms of risk management, it's also important to recognize that holding non-convertible or partially restricted currencies carries inherent risks. These include limited liquidity, potential difficulty in finding buyers, and exposure to policy changes within the issuing country. This is why financial professionals generally recommend diversification and caution when dealing with speculative currency positions. At the same time, it's fair to acknowledge that Iraq's economy does have underlying strengths, particularly its significant oil reserves, which provide a major source of revenue. The country also has a young population and potential for infrastructure development, which could support long-term economic growth if managed effectively. These factors contribute to the overall economic outlook, but they must be balanced against ongoing challenges such as political stability, regulatory consistency, and institutional development. Bringing the focus back to the central topic of today's discussion, the idea of exchanging Iraqi dinar at a bank like Chase remains, at this point, unsupported by verified financial data or official banking policy. It is a topic that continues to generate interest, but it is essential to approach it with a clear understanding of how global currency systems operate and what conditions are required for a currency to be widely exchangeable. As we move forward, we will continue to monitor any credible updates related to Iraq's financial reforms, banking sector developments, and currency policies. Any significant change in the status of the Iraqi dinar, especially one involving major international banks, would represent a major shift in the global financial landscape and would be reported through reliable and verifiable sources. Until then, staying informed, thinking critically, and avoiding speculation are the best strategies for anyone following Iraqi dinar news. Understanding the difference between possibility and probability is key in navigating topics like this, where rumors can sometimes overshadow reality. Thank you for watching, and if you want to continue receiving responsible and factual updates on the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Please remember that this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.